Unlike other shadow people, though, he's described with his infamous hat, which is often described as a fedora, which I think to me would make me feel a bit better. I don't know.
Just a jazz man.
Yeah. He's like,
oh my God. Hello everyone, welcome back to the 21st episode of Spooky and Kooky.
As always, if you're into anything spooky, horror, paranormal, conspiracy, anything a little bit kooky, weird, then this is probably the pod for you.
Today's episode is all about sleep.
Yes.
Sleep themed.
Yeah, so we got some sleep paralysis, talk about maybe some night terrors,
Yes.
even a murder.
Yes.
Murders.
So we're actually going to start on the murder topic. For my 28th birthday, which was a 10 out of 10 gift, by the way, Ellen got us tickets to this, I don't know what to call it, like a mock murder trial, or
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you played the jury. So you were watching a murder trial, and then you, the jury, voted on whether you thought they were guilty or innocent. And it really makes you think about what being in that position's like.
Yeah.
I took it so super serious, because I was
Me
like,
too.
there's just not, like, there's reasonable doubt there, and it's beyond reasonable doubt. So you have to go with not guilty.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that with this one with you. I'm going to sort of go through the case, and before I tell you what the verdict was on it,
Yeah.
you can tell me what your thoughts are. If you were on that jury,
that's
what
so much
you
pressure.
would have voted.
I always
And
thought...
see what you think.
Yeah, before we went to that, I was like, I would be such a good member of the jury. I just know I would. But
I know.
then, after that, I thought, maybe not. Maybe not.
So indecisive.
Yeah, and you just can't help but let your own, like, prejudices kind of creep
Yeah.
in. It's really hard to just look at what the evidence is.
It
We
gave me quite a
really
good-
went hard for it.
Yeah, it gave me quite a good perspective though, because there are those cases where I've always thought, how on earth did they get off?
Yeah.
But then after that, and really, like, I just remember saying to you so many times that night, like, there was reasonable doubt.
We were like, it was someone's life at the end of it.
So, yeah, it really gives you some perspective. But on the sleep theme, this is a case about someone who was supposedly sleepwalking when they committed a murder, and there's been quite a few cases like this that have used this as a defence. So, when we think of sleepwalking, we stereotypically get the picture in our head of a zombified state of someone walking aimlessly or acting out the dream that they are having. Sleepwalking occurs when the brain partially wakes up from a deep sleep and allows the body to move around, however your mind is not fully awake. Sleepwalking, also known as parasomnia, which is a diagnosed sleep condition, often goes away as someone grows up and can run in families. Sleepwalkers are not fully aware of their surroundings and do not have access to problem-solving cognitive skills whilst in this state, and sleepwalkers cannot tell us what they saw or what they were doing during the episode, as they do not remember. 1% to 1.5% of adults experience sleepwalking, so quite a small number. I don't know if you've ever experienced it.
No, I don't think I have. I think I might have once as a child. But it's more
Yeah.
common in children, isn't it?
Yeah, I
For
think
whatever
it was
reason.
5% to 10% of children do it, and then they grow out of it as they grow up. But
Yeah.
I've never done it. I've sleep talk all the time.
Oh, yeah, same.
But never slept walk. So I guess you don't even remember what you did anyway, so it's probably more disconcerting for the person who witnesses you do it than actually you doing it, because you don't know what you're doing.
I don't know, because Rich used to as a child, and he said he'd like wake up and he'd be in the garden.
Oh.
So he'd actually got outside.
Yeah.
And that would be you'd be like, huh?
Yeah.
And my mum would be like, I've been abducted.
Yeah. And you don't know how you've got there, and you can't remember it. It would
Yeah,
be,
it's scary.
You'd think you'd have
Aliens.
blackouts. Yeah, yeah. It'd be crazy. So there have been a few murder cases that have relied on a defence of sleepwalking, and rarely this has been successful. Today we are going to explore one of these cases. March 25th, 2017, West Palm Beach, Florida, 911 call dispatchers received a call informing them stoically that there had been a murder. The caller told them to send police and where to find him, and admitted responsibility to the initial 911 call. The caller was 24-year-old Randy Herman, who was picked up and taken into police custody for questioning. Detectives discovered his victim, 21-year-old Brooke Preston, who was deceased inside of the home that they had shared together with Brooke's sister. Brooke and Randy were childhood friends, and many who knew Randy were completely shocked by his actions. They could not seem to believe that their friend or family member that they described as polite and kind would commit such heinous atrocities. Brooke, who was described by her loved ones as funny and loved by everyone who knew her, had a tattoo that read, "The sky is the limit." She had moved to West Palm Beach from her hometown, and sorry I'm going to say this wrong, Wyalusing, Pennsylvania, and joined her sister in West Palm Beach to live with her sister and attend the State College of Florida. Randy Herman had been friends with the two sisters since their teenage years and moved to Florida around the same time, and after a short time of him being there, the friends all became roommates together. Brooke had earned an associate's degree and had decided to relocate to Buffalo, New York to move in with her boyfriend, and the move was due to occur the day of the brutal killing. Brooke and Randy, on March 24th, so the day before, had been drinking throughout the day together and had returned home. Whilst in the house, Randy had started acting strangely, which concerned her, so she texted one of her male friends to come and pick her up so she could stay the night at their house, as she could not deal with Randy anymore. Randy was stumbling around, acting belligerently. When the friend arrived to collect Brooke, he went to the kitchen and made himself a drink. Brooke then came out of her bedroom and said that Randy was hiding in her closet completely naked, which understandably unnerved her even further. The next morning, Randy said he had woken up hungover and had contacted Brooke asking her whereabouts and that he had something to give her. Brooke had replied that she had been out to breakfast with her friend and invited him to join them. He declined, and later Brooke returned home to see Randy and say goodbye before she would move out. Randy handed her a t-shirt, which was the item that he had wanted to give her before she left, gave her a hug goodbye, and then returned to bed. Randy claims the next thing he remembers is standing over Brooke's body holding a knife. He drove to a nearby park and called police, and he was arrested on the spot as he had blood-stained clothes and he had cut his hand, and obviously in the 911 call he said that it was him that had committed the murder. Whilst in custody, Randy was emotional and said he knows it was him but could not remember doing it and could not answer police questions about the event or motive for the stabbing. There appeared to be an open and shut case as Randy had admitted guilt, plus the evidence that they had been gathered by police. Surely there could be no defence that could explain Randy's actions. His lawyer felt that his claim that he could not remember appeared genuine and decided to have Randy evaluated by a psychiatrist who checked him for every mental health condition and did a thorough evaluation, which turned up no diagnosis. So we moved on to looking for potential neurological cause, which also turned up nothing. The last question he asked Randy, to be completely thorough, was if he had had a history of sleepwalking. Randy had a history from his childhood of sleepwalking and also had a family history where his mum and sisters were also sleepwalkers. Randy had been observed by his family on more than one occasion sleepwalking and apparently even rode his bike in this state down to a local bar where his mum used to work, and he rode the same route many times awake, so technically he could do it whilst he was asleep. I don't know about that.
I get muscle memory, I suppose, because you know when you're just driving and then you're like,
Yeah,
how did I get here? But
Yeah.
you are awake and conscious. I don't know how that would work
with hazards and things, because
Yeah.
your problem part of your brain has turned off. But it's an interesting fact, I guess, that you could potentially do that. I'm not an expert on sleepwalking, and experts seem to think that that incident's genuine, so...
Okay.
His family were able to corroborate this to his defence, and they got to work on building a case for their client. And in Florida, there is no defence of diminished responsibility, so they built their defence of not guilty by reason of insanity. arguing that parasomnia is a diagnosable mental health condition in the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Conditions or Mental Health Conditions. So that's what they base diagnoses on. So I'm guessing a mental health defence, if it's in there, could be used. Yeah. But the interesting thing about Florida not having a defence of diminished responsibility, so if they did, they could have done it as a manslaughter charge.
Yeah.
But not guilty by reason of insanity is literally the charges are dropped.
Okay.
So I think that weighs into a decision.
Right.
When you're looking at being a jury member. So they argued at trial that Randy was not conscious when he stabbed Brooke over 20 times in a prolonged violent attack just minutes after hugging her goodbye. Prosecutors argued that this was not possible to fall asleep in this small amount of time and then begin sleepwalking. And apparently sleepwalking happens when you're in a deep state of sleep because you partially wake up from the deep state of sleep.
Yeah.
So arguably, could he got to that deep state
REM
of sleep?
You've got to go through
multiple amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, surely not.
But then it's only Randy and Brooke in the home at this point. So arguably, was it only a few minutes? I think the reason why they thought the time of the murder had occurred when it did was someone heard screams from around that time.
Right.
But I would always put that as eyewitness testimony. They didn't call the police, so they could say it was about 9 o'clock. But it could have been 9:15. So to me, there's different factors within that, but that's the prosecutor's argument, that it wouldn't have been that quick. So they also added that due to the nature of the attack and the violence committed, it would not be possible to sleepwalk through this. They stated that the motive for the attack appeared sexual due to the incident the night prior and theorised that Randy had sexual feelings towards Brooke. However, Jordan, Brooke's sister, and both of their roommate denied that there was anything between them and felt this was not likely. And Randy also denied it, but obviously he would do if there was. But he said that he viewed them both as sisters, and anyone who knew them denied that there was sexual feelings towards Brooke. It was just that one incident the night before.
Right.
And I think he had been drinking something like 30 beers. Or maybe 30 between them. It was they had been drinking a lot.
Okay.
So the media frenzy around this case was huge, which is why I kind of chose to focus on this one, because it's quite a well-known one. And the media frenzy increased because it was found that Randy's father, who was also called Randy Herman, had been accused of murdering his girlfriend in 2015, so 2 years prior, but had committed suicide before he could be arrested. Randy, growing up, had not had huge involvement with his father, yet the incident seemed to have a profound effect on Randy. Randy inherited $25,000 from his father and used this to make the move to Florida. However, he blew through all the money in a short time by participating in self-destructive behaviours with drugs and alcohol. So, what would your thoughts be before I give you what the jury decided?
My thoughts would be it's probably would be different if their laws were better, because
literally,
if it's a choice of him going to prison or just being completely free, then he should probably be in prison, because even if he was asleep, he's got that potential in him to do it again.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether he had enough time to fall asleep or, when it took place, anything like that. If the potential is there, surely, if nothing else, he should be in a mental institution.
Yeah.
Or, properly assessed and get help that he needs.
So when I looked it up, I thought that not guilty by reason of insanity could mean that you drop the murder charge, but you would still be
a lesser
in
charge.
An institution.
Yeah.
For mental health help or for assessment.
Yeah.
But it just said all charges were dropped, so I don't know if that does happen or if you do just get to walk free. From what I read, it does sound like you just get to walk free, whereas the diminished responsibility, manslaughter, you would either go to a institution or you would have mitigating factors so it would affect your sentence.
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy for him to just walk free, because it's evident that he did do it.
Yeah.
There's no question that he did do it.
And it was violent.
Yeah.
The attack was horrendous, and I think that's why it's important to really, state that for Brooke's sake, really, because what she went through, whether he was asleep or not, would have been awful. And it was interesting to me that her mum knew Randy well, because obviously they lived together and they were childhood friends, so her parents knew Randy well. And I watched the police tapes of the police breaking the news to Brooke's parents, which was harrowing, but they both said not Randy. Randy couldn't have done it. And everyone who knew Randy was adamant that he couldn't have done it. The only thing that flagged up was the night prior.
Which sounded like some sort of psychotic break to me. Like his behaviour before.
Or if he was on drugs, or if he was sleepwalking even then.
Yeah.
And got into
like that is unusual behaviour.
Yeah.
And the fact that it happened the night before.
Yeah.
Surely should factor into that.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's scarier that they weren't together, because if he had that sort of rate, if he could get to that point, and they're not even like, it's not even a killing through passion or anything like that, he just managed to get to that with a friend, that's not someone that you want
on the street.
Yeah. Not that you would if they were going out, but you know what I mean, like that was so unprovoked. It's not like they were in a relationship and then she's going to move away and he's like can't get past that and lashes out and doesn't know what he's doing. This is like a friend.
Yeah. So I thought the incident the night before could have potentially been him sleepwalking, because he was walking around the house acting belligerently. That could have been him sleepwalking, like just acting strangely, and she was like, he just won't go back to bed.
Yeah.
So,
and guess...
then he woke up the next morning. Nothing was said about the night before. He just texted her like, oh, where are you at? I've got something to give you. So he didn't remember it. So I'm thinking, was that another sleepwalking episode, or was it literally just drugs and alcohol?
Because if
he wasn't in the right state of mind.
Yeah, and if you were drinking that much, you probably wouldn't remember.
Yeah. So I do find it bizarre that if it was such a short amount of time between him falling asleep and the supposed attack, that he could get to sleepwalking, but I don't think it's that concrete, the time of the attack.
But surely they would have been able to place the time of death, or they weren't able to do it that precisely. Because I don't think you can really take what one person said as Bible.
And they said that the attack was prolonged, so it wasn't like really prolonged, but when you think about 15 minutes of violent stabbing, that is going to be prolonged for the victim. And it was just an awful scene for investigators to go into. So I'll tell you the verdict now.
Although, just one other thing. Yeah. Like, I know he said, or their family said that he had sleepwalked and got on his bike and whatever, but surely her screaming would have woken him up.
Well, that's another thing the prosecution argued. They said that you wouldn't be able to sleepwalk through this violent attack because they said the type of stabbing it is, and I won't go into it on here because it's, trigger warning and that, but...
It would be tiring that amount of times, but surely just the sound alone...
And how, I'm trying to think of how to say it in a good way, but how deep the stab wounds is what he would need to cut through. You wouldn't be able to sleep through that, but... I don't know. To me, usually there are red flags. With Randy, it seems like there's literally nothing.
Do you think Oh no, because his father didn't... He committed suicide, didn't he? Because I was going to say, do you think he saw... I thought you were going to say that the father had his child drop through sleepwalking, and I was going to say, had he seen that and thought, oh,
yeah.
But, yeah.
It didn't make sense to me that it does seem like the defence does just use it as a bit of a Hail Mary, because they were like, we went through everything and couldn't find everything, and the last thing I asked him was sleepwalking, and then he had been a sleepwalker and he doesn't remember it, so we're going to put two and two together and say that he was sleepwalking. So to me, it sounds like maybe his defence put that in his head, because at the end of the day, the defence want to build a case that they're going to win for their client. And I think the attorney had said, I work with loads of people who sort of lie and say they can't remember, but Randy seemed genuine. And again, I've watched his police tape, And I'm always really dubious with police tapes because I like to think that I can read human behaviour so well and know when someone's being genuine. I didn't get that he was being deceptive, but I get that I'm not an expert. And sometimes you can't really tell, but his distress did seem genuine.
But I think that's when it comes back down to their laws. Like, there's no question that he might not have been aware, but it's just that
their laws are shady.
If he's walking free or not, you're going to go with not because you don't want that person in society, because that could just happen again. If it happens so easily that time with seemingly no sort of factors to get that out of him. That's crazy.
That was my thought, to be fair. If it was a case of diminished responsibility, I don't know if there would be enough reasonable doubt for me to be like, oh, it's manslaughter, because all the defence needs to do, they don't even need to prove innocence, they just need to prove that there's reasonable doubt in a case.
Yeah.
So if it was a diminished responsibility, I think he would probably got off.
Yeah.
But the verdict was life in prison.
Yeah.
The jury deliberated and found Randy guilty of murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison. Those who knew Randy and Brooke still feel that the case does not make sense and cannot understand how Randy could have done something like this. This has been an overview of the case, but what do you guys think? Is sleepwalking a legitimate defence for murder, or is it simply used as a Hail Mary for defence teams trying to win a court case? Experts seem to think that it is possible for you to commit violent acts when you are asleep, and explain this through our primal instincts that are hardwired in all of us, and when we are awake we're able to suppress those. However, when sleepwalking, our primal part of our brains can respond without the conscious filtering that occurs when awake. So the perpetrator may act out in violent ways due to a primal defence or hunting instinct. Like I said at the start, there have been rare cases where this defence has been successful at trial, and this is when I get quite, like, I feel like injustice has been done on Randy's case for the Florida laws.
Yeah.
Because a man in Canada, Kenneth Parks, drove to either his ex-in-law's house or his in-law's house while sleepwalking. So drove his car, murdered them, and he got off with the sleepwalking defence.
Did he drive home as well?
I think so. So that's what makes it feel unfair.
Did all charges get dropped against him, or did he get a lesser sentence on the basis of sleepwalking?
I think all charges were dropped.
See, that just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't.
Because I'm pretty sure he's free today.
Wow.
It did happen in the 80s though, so he might have got...
Sorry, my son's
But yeah, he might have got back out.
Wow. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Well, if anything, surely this case should have prompted some changes in their laws.
Yeah.
Because
to be like, we can't just be so black and white with stuff.
Yeah. Like, yes, he did it.
But does he need life in prison?
Yeah. What is the best outcome for everyone in this situation?
And I think to get life in prison, you should probably have more burden of proof on the prosecution, but then they did have the burden of proof, they did have everything they needed for a guilty conviction, but I just feel like the motive for me was quite weak, and you need means, motive and opportunity, and if the motive's not there, the whole case can fall apart. And I feel like the motive part is the bit that can be defended with the sleepwalking. So I just found it a really interesting case. Obviously condolences to Brooke and her family, because just what she went through must have been so scary and horrendous. And to know that there's other cases out there and to know that this could potentially happen is just so terrifying for everyone, because, you know, if Randy's defence team is right and he sleptwalked through this, that must have been terrifying for Randy. Like, obviously way more terrifying for Brooke, and I don't want to minimise that, but must have been terrifying for him if that is what really happened.
Yeah. And it just doesn't make sense. Like, there's no doubt that obviously he's guilty of it. But the point of a sentence is to be able to protect the community. So if he is genuinely remorseful, then, and, you know, to actually help him, surely life in prison is not going to help anyone. Like
and I think you can get drugs for sleepwalking. Like, you can be given medications to sedate you. So even some time in, like, a sleep clinic being evaluated.
Yeah, or he just serve his time somewhere more
For
appropriate
manslaughter.
for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually get some help instead of just being,
Yeah. Well, I thought you'd find it interesting, and I hope
did find
if you're listening, you found that interesting, and let us know what you think in the comments, what your thoughts would be. Like Ellen and myself did kind of agree with it, but thought Florida laws suck.
Yeah, basically, that's what I got out of it, and that is a horrendous situation for both to be in.
I find it so strange, like, America's legal system, because it's by state as well.
Yeah.
And obviously we've all heard of Gypsy Rose trial and tribulations, but she's even said, the reason I'm convicted a murderer is because there was no accessory to murderer in my state. Arguably, I think she still should have been.
Yeah.
Like, just my opinion.
She was the mastermind.
Yeah, she got this. Well, she didn't get the sentence she deserved, but she got the charge that was correct. But she said, if I was in a different state and committed this crime, then I would have just got accessory to murder, and everyone could stop calling me a murderer. Because I'm not a murderer. The only reason I'm convicted of it is because of the state I live in. Sorry, that was really mocking. You can tell my feelings towards that.
It's true, though.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good one for me to bring in this sleep-themed episode. Because obviously I do love a true crime case, and I find them so interesting.
Yeah.
And the legal system is just interesting when you look into, like, those little niches and think,
frustrating.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
Seem like it should happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Anyway, on to the spooky part.
Well, I'm just going to go into a little bit about sleep paralysis and then the hot topic of the hitman. I've seen that about a lot, so...
Have you ever had sleep paralysis?
I've never had sleep paralysis. I get night terrors, but I've never had sleep paralysis, but I know you have.
Yeah, I get it quite often.
Do
but
you?
I've only ever seen bugs crawling on me. And then that one time at Kieran's house when I saw a demon and it put its hand over my face. I told you about that, didn't I? Yeah, oh, that was horrible. But that's the only time... Usually I don't even see anything. Usually I just wake up, realise I can't move, and then go back to sleep.
Yeah.
But it started happening so often that... And I go through bouts of it as well, where I get it, and then I won't get it for a while, and then I'll have it quite a few times in a short period of time. But I don't know if I'm dreaming that I can't move and it's actually just a dream, or if I'm actually, like, partially awake and I can't move. I don't know. It's weird. It's scary nonetheless, but I've learned that if you just close your eyes and try and fall back to sleep, you'll wake up.
See, that's what people say, but I just think that is mad that you can calm yourself to a point where you can close your eyes and go back to sleep.
Happens so many times.
Oh, it's horrendous.
Literally, the first couple of times it was worse, and the time where there was a literal demon standing next to me with its hand over my face, that wasn't so easy to calm myself. But I remember thinking in the moment, just fall back to sleep and breathe and you'll be fine. And I always fall asleep with a podcast playing. And luckily I must have woken up while the podcast was still playing.
So still something.
So I could listen to it and fall back to sleep and, like, sort of tune into that to fall back asleep to.
Yeah.
So
because
it was alright.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that, because I know I don't always remember my night terrors, but the ones I do remember. And it's interesting though, because I don't always see people. It can be a range of things. I've had the spiders, I've had like metal grates that are the size of the ceiling falling, like ready to crush us. I've had people crawling up the bed, or like children standing at the end of the bed.
But you can move.
But I can move.
So that's what makes it.
And I'm instantly up and screaming. Yeah. And there's no way I can go back to sleep. Like, once I remember it, I'm convinced there is someone or something there, and it takes quite a lot to come out.
It's funny that you say, like, I don't know how you can calm yourself and just go back to sleep, because to me, I couldn't deal with that. Like, I don't know how you deal with it, or like, oh, I don't know how Rich deals with it either, because to be the person just like waking up to someone screaming, it's just so like
and saying that there's someone in the
unnerving.
room.
Yeah.
I think more often than not it is people that I see, and then I would scare myself and be like, can I actually see ghosts?
Yeah, is it actually real? And
yeah, but then my dad gets it, so obviously it's something that is, but
it's just so scary.
it is horrendous. But that seems to be, they say it's triggered by stress and things, but when it happens, it can be just randomly. But I remember my mum saying that, because obviously I was the first child, that she caught him trying to punch through a wall because Dad was convinced that I was stuck in the wall. He could hear me in the walls.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
So,
bad.
yeah, you just see so many different things. And I remember when me and Rich first got together, this is probably the only nice night terror I've ever had. I don't remember it. I don't remember the only nice one I've had, but I was trying to shoo a cat out of his room. He was like, what are you doing?
But that's one of the, like, that would be one of the better ones to have.
Yeah.
For Rich, it's just a bit like, what the hell are you doing? Not, oh my God.
If I had had my work, like one of my most horrible ones, he probably still wouldn't be with me.
Yeah.
So I think that was right at the start.
No, that would really terrify me. Especially, I don't think it would be so bad if you get with someone and they're like, look, before I stay over, there is something that you need to know. Like, it doesn't happen often, but just in case it does, I have night terrors, and then you'd be prepared for it. But if they didn't tell you and were just like, you'd be like, what
Oh my God.
is happening? Did you tell Rich before it happened?
You know, I don't actually remember if I told him or not. But, I must have done, because I have to have some light in the room, because otherwise my mind will play tricks on me when I'm awake. I remember as a child I had this like stocking that would always be on the back of my door even when it wasn't Christmas, and it had a Bugs Bunny head, like a stuffed head on it, and I would imagine like so many times that would appear in a person unless I had the light on, like my mind just so I must have told him for that reason, because there has to be a little night light on, or like the bathroom light on if we're in a hotel room and it pushed to, there has to be something, otherwise it's probably gonna happen.
I'm someone that I do, like I said, like I always keep a podcast on, and before I met Kieran I just kept like YouTube playing on my telly because I like light and sound to fall asleep, and everyone says you shouldn't do that. But if I don't have something for almost my brain to channel into and focus on, if I'm just lying in the pitch black and there's nothing going on like to follow sound wise, my mind will not stop, and I will be up till like if I can put something on, I will fall asleep within 5 minutes. I won't, like, so many times, like, I listen to the same thing because I only catch the first 5 minutes and then I'm asleep. It doesn't matter. But it's just that I can channel into it and turn my mind off. Whereas if I don't have that, my mind just keeps going. But it says that if you do that, it keeps your brain active. And I'm like, it definitely doesn't.
Yeah, no, I'm like that. But only if I'm sleeping on my own. Well, only because I can't have anything on because it annoys Rich. Otherwise, I probably would fall asleep faster.
Yeah, because if I'm like lying in a pitch black room, like you, I start seeing things. And I'm like, oh, is that my towels on the back of my door, or is that a person?
Yeah, and then I start thinking, I'll be turned away and I'll be thinking, there's someone stood at the door, or there's someone like, I'm going to open my eyes, there's going to be a face right there. I just freak myself out.
And I don't like it when I wake up in a pitch black room as well.
It's
because
disorientating.
And especially at the minute, because I sleep with my eye taped shut. Because with Bell's palsy, your eye doesn't close all the way. So I tape it down at night. I wake up, I forget, so I just can't open this eye. And if I'm like facing this way on the pillow, it's just that I can't see, and it's really disorientating and unnerving.
Okay.
That was a big tangent.
Well, it was relevant. So, I'll go into a bit about sleep paralysis. So, a sleep paralysis demon is a hallucination that occurs when you're transitioning out of sleep. During the lifelike dreams of rapid eye movement, or REM sleep, your voluntary muscle movements are immobilized, so that you don't act out your dreams. So most of the time, this so-called paralysis is helpful, which is what you were saying when you're like, I don't know if your body does do that. But occasionally your brain becomes awakened before you transition out of REM, like wakefulness. During this period, you may sense or even see a malevolent presence lurking nearby or hovering over you. You may also feel as if the presence is pressing down on your chest or somehow attacking you. And that is a sleep paralysis demon. The Hatman is a mysterious and unsettling figure, often described as a shadowy entity wearing a wide-brimmed hat. Reports of encounters with him has surfaced across the world, with many people claiming to see him during episodes of sleep paralysis. So the origins and descriptions of Hatman. The Hatman is considered a type of shadow person, a phenomenon where individuals report seeing dark, humanoid figures lurking in the peripheral vision or standing ominously in their rooms. Unlike other shadow people, though, he's described with his infamous hat, which is often described as a fedora, which I think to me would make me feel a bit better. I don't know.
Just a jazz man.
Yeah. He's like,
Oh my god.
I guess it's either way, it's scary that there's a man with or without a hat standing in your room.
He just tips that to you like, bip, bip, do.
Top of the morning to you. People who claim to have seen the Hatman describe feeling an intense dread. Some say he simply watches them, standing in doorways or corners, while others report more terrifying experiences, such as him pressing down on their chest, making it difficult to breathe, which aligns with historical accounts of sleep paralysis demons that have been described in folklore for centuries. There are several theories about what the Hatman could be, and the neurological theory is that basically it's a manifestation of the sleep disorder of sleep paralysis.
Why is it the same for everyone?
And by extension, nothing more than a product of the subconscious mind. Or there's some religious theories. Some people believe that the shadow people and Hatman are evil minions of the devil, sent to snatch souls and drag us down to the bowels of hell. Or that he might be a guardian angel.
That's the bit where it comes in like,
I'm a scab man. Sent from heaven to protect our souls and shield us from evil. Or there's a scientific theory that some physicists believe unexplained forces are causing other dimensions to merge with ours, and this merging of different dimensions would explain why we can only see the shadow people and the Hatman as shadowy figures who have the ability to transcend our laws of gravity, float through walls, fly, and change shapes at random.
Why just to watch us sleep though?
Yeah, why only at night if that is true? Or is it that maybe part of our brains have to be shut off to be able to see the crossover?
But why are they watching us sleep? Like, why are they even there at that time?
Well, if it is a shift of dimensions, maybe they don't know that they're watching us sleep. They're doing whatever they're doing in their day, and it just crosses.
I'm so glad that I've never seen him, because I would find it quite disconcerting. But I remember I actually went to go see a medium one time, and she told me that my guardian angels talk to me a lot at night while I sleep. And I remember just, even though they were guardian angels, I was just like, I don't like that, because they were like, oh yeah, you chat to them all the time. And I was like, when? And she said, while you're asleep at night, you talk to them all the time.
Oh, that gave me chills. Like, I know that should be nice, but...
It wasn't. It gave me the same chills. And I remember thinking back to it when I saw that demon that put its hand over my face, and I was like, is that my guardian angel? Because if that's my guardian angel, there's something wrong with me.
It's like, shh, you're about to say something stupid.
So yeah, I kind of I don't know. Obviously, everyone has different beliefs, but he could be a guardian angel. But why are you wearing such a formal hat and a suit?
I thought it's rude to wear a hat indoors as well.
Oh no, isn't it a trench coat, not a suit? Still.
I don't know if anyone can see him enough to know. Maybe he's completely naked. He's only got the hat on.
I heard it had a trench coat. That would be really... Sir!
You can leave your hat on.
And also, you can't say anything or scream during sleep paralysis, so you'd be trying to be like, sir, put it away, there's a time and a place, but you'd just be there like... Honestly, I know the feeling as well, because it's like I've tried to scream out before and it's just horrible.
Oh, I can only liken it to when you have those dreams when you're trying to run and you physically can't run and you're so slow and you're like... That's the only thing I can imagine it's like.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, how can I not run? I'm like trying everything. I used to have a reoccurring dream of a jack-in-a-box, a giant jack-in-a-box. And I was in like, it was like a waterfall, but it was a pool and it was really shallow steps and really shallow water.
What, like a dream room?
Maybe. I don't know. I just remember it being sort of like a pool and the jack-in-a-box would pop up and the big... clown would be there and then it would be crawling up and I'd be trying to move but I can't wade through the water and it's so slow, and I used to have that dream so many times.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's horrendous. Anyway, the thing I wanted to tell you about that I hadn't heard about was the Benadryl hat man. Have you heard about that?
No. Isn't Benadryl an antihistamine?
Yeah, so it's a modern twist on the Hat Man. So the active ingredient in Benadryl, diphenhydramine, has been reported to make some users see the Hat Man.
That's so weird.
Yeah, so it says some users who take excessive amounts of the drug report seeing the Hat Man during hallucinations, leading to speculation he might be linked to altered brain chemistry. And there was actually a TikTok trend where people were taking Benadryl to try and see the Hat Man.
Conjure him up.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like doing a video afterwards to say whether they had seen him or not.
That kind of makes sense, because have you ever heard of DMT? Apparently, it produces a similar chemical of what happens when you die.
Oh.
And people who take it, they all see this like serpent being. And a comedian does a sketch about it, actually. I'll have to find it and send it to you later. But he's like, oh, my friend convinced me to do DMT with him, or whatever the drug's called. And he came out with it and he was like, there was a serpent being. And he was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Frank.
just what you see.
Oh my god. That sounds terrifying. Although
But Benadryl's a bit, like, that drug is, like, severely hallucinogenic. So Benadryl's a bit, like, calmer than that.
Yeah, that's very tame. They do say, though, that, like, everlasting life, they have the symbol of the snake eating its tail.
It's probably
in the
that.
circle. Yeah.
I'll send you the comedian sketch, because he describes the scene pretty well.
That's
I'll
terrifying.
just have to find it, but yeah.
I feel like that would not be used in therapy. I must be thinking of something else. They're like, we're going to give you something worse and then you'll just feel better for what you have to deal with. Yeah, so I've got a very short story about the Hat Man, just to finish off my segment. For as long as Daniel could remember, the hallway outside his childhood bedroom had always felt wrong at night. It wasn't just the creaking floorboards or the way shadows stretched unnaturally in the dim glow of the streetlights. It was something deeper, an instinctive dread that pressed in on him whenever he glanced towards the end of the hall. He told himself it was nothing, just an old house settling, just his imagination, until the night he saw him. Daniel woke suddenly, unsure why. His alarm clock read 3:17 a.m. The house was silent, too silent. The usual hum of appliances, the distant sounds of cars passing in the night, all gone. And then he saw it. A tall black figure stood at the end of the hallway. The only detail visible was the wide-brimmed hat perched atop of his featureless head. He didn't move, didn't breathe, just watched. Daniel was frozen, his breath shallow. He wanted to reach for the light beside him to flood the hallway with light, but something inside him screamed not to move. The silence stretched unbearably, and then, slowly, the shadow stepped forward. Daniel threw himself backwards, fumbling for the lamp, knocking his phone off the nightstand. Light flooded the room, and the figure was gone. For days he convinced himself he had imagined it. Stress, exhaustion, anything but the truth. Then his mother mentioned something over breakfast. "I used to hate this house at night," she said absently. It's just such a weird conversation starter. It's really the depths of conversation starters.
It's like, good morning to you too.
I always felt like someone was watching me from the hallway. Daniel's stomach dropped.
Your hairs would stand up on it and you'd be like, ooh, what?
Why are you saying this now as well? "You saw him too," he whispered. She paused, spoon hovering over her cereal. Her gaze flickered towards the hallway. "The man with the hat?" she asked. Daniel didn't sleep that night, understandably. Weeks passed. The sightings continued. At first, Daniel tried ignoring it. He kept his lamp on, avoiding looking towards the hallway at night. "Just close the door!"
Yeah, I feel like that would really solve the issue.
Why would you sleep
with
with the door open as well? That's crazy. Do you
just
sleep
stayed
with
outside on the other... No.
Yeah.
I'm not a psychopath.
Thank you. I was like, am I the weird one?
Don't you hate it when your parent used to come in your room and say goodnight and then leave the door open? You'd just get up and be like...
I used to hate it when I was just trying to play on my DS and then I'd hear them and be like... and you didn't have time to close it, so the light is under the covers.
Yeah,
and
or the
like...
sound's still playing even though you close it and you're just like, shut up.
And they like turn it off.
Yeah. Or when you try and be asleep and they're like, I can see you smiling, and you're just like, no.
What? I'm sorry, I was asleep.
Yes. I'm glad that wasn't just me.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so he kept his lamp on. But the feeling of being watched never left. Even during the day, the house seemed off, like something had settled into the walls. And then came the whispers. They started faint, so soft he thought they were tricks of his mind, barely audible murmurs slithering through the silence. But soon they grew louder, always just beyond his comprehension. A low, rhythmic hum of something talking, though he could never make out any of the words. One night, he recorded himself sleeping, desperate to prove he was imagining things. At 3:17 a.m, the footage showed him tossing and turning, restless, then static. The audio cuts out entirely for exactly 17 seconds. When it returned, there was a whisper, clear, distinct, though not in any language he recognised. And standing at the end of the hall, barely visible in the dim glow of his nightlight, was the Hatman. Daniel didn't sleep for 2 nights after that, and eventually he reached his breaking point. One evening, he stood at the end of the hallway and spoke directly into the emptiness. "I know you're there." The house was silent.
You just hear, skitty boop boop.
"I don't know what you want, but I want you to leave." The air shifted, thickened, like the pressure had changed. Then, for the first time, the whispering became words.
"I've always been here."
Daniel stumbled back, choking on his breath. The shadows pulled, not natural ones, but ones that spread like ink, curling outwards from the end of the hallway. And then the figure stepped forward, no longer just a silhouette, more defined, more real. For the first time, Daniel saw its eyes, not hollow, but deep, stretching inwards like tunnels into nothingness. And then it smiled, wide, unnatural. The next morning, Daniel packed his bags and left the house for good. The farmhouse remained empty after that.
I don't know why, I just picture that little kid who likes chicken nuggets a lot with his little suitcase, like, you can't run in your little high heels.
I'm sick of making these deals. I keep losing at them.
Oh no, that does sound terrifying though.
It's just, I'm like, eating a
I
cereal,
hate it
like,
here.
I used to hate this house at night. Oh,
Thanks.
it's that man as well. Oh, the Hat Man? Yeah. Saw him.
Every night. All my childhood.
Sweet whispers.
No, that would be very terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm really worried now that you've brought it to my attention that I'm going to see it.
I'm sorry.
If I do, I'll let you know. I'll
Yeah,
tell
please
you on
do.
our 20-second episode.
Also say comment on this episode. You can just tell me in person.
That would be weird.
Comment down below.
Have you seen that man? Not me, but not me, not Hermione.
You.
But if any of you have seen the Hat Man, please comment down below because I would love to know.
Or the Hag.
Do you hate sleeping in this house at night?
Let
us know.
I hate this house at night.
Let us know down below. To finish today's episode off, I'm not going to do a watchery because I saw this weeks ago and I wanted to bring it up, but obviously I've not had a chance till now, so it's kind of like gone away. They've even got a new advert. But did you see the weird KFC advert? And
No.
you would know the one I'm on about.
I don't think, no.
You would know the one. So I'm going to try to describe it and I'll try and get a clip up.
I don't know what I just saw.
I've just shown Ellen the advert and I will try and get some clips up here, but I'm just going to try and describe it in case I'm not allowed to use the clips or whatever. But there is a 2025 KFC advert that is really weird.
I am speechless.
So it's a man in the middle of a forest and these people dressed in beige all surround him and they've got this giant golden egg.
Yeah.
And it's like a chicken cult in a forest. But the really weird bit is they go to a lake of gravy and they pick up a stiff person.
Literally like you would pick up
A
a
chicken
suitcase
strip.
or something. No, but
Yeah,
they like
yeah.
hold him like this.
Yeah. Dip him in the gravy
Yeah.
to where
Dip
the
his
bubbles
head.
stop.
Put him head first into it
Where the bubbles stop.
so he's drowned.
And then they lift him out and he is a
Piece
piece
of
of KFC chicken. And then it comes up at the end saying, believe in chicken.
yeah. And the egg is, I'm not really sure the significance of the giant golden egg. It's so big, there must have been about 20 people holding it up.
Yeah.
And they carried it a bit through
And
the
the
woods.
music is disconcerting.
The music is unsettling. What is the point? Who thought of this? Who okayed it?
So, the reason I wanted to bring this up was because after that came out, obviously people were like, what on earth did I just watch?
Yeah.
But what does it mean? Like you've just said. So there was some conspiracies coming out that there's a little message in there for us. And the conspiracy is, we now know what's in the KFC chicken.
What, there's people?
Well, obviously, I don't believe that. This is just what people are saying on TikTok.
Oh my God.
Because I was like, say it's true, which I don't think it is. Like, I had KFC after this came out, and I was just looking at it like, it's chicken. It smells like chicken. It looks like chicken. It tastes like chicken.
Do you even know what chicken tastes like? Chicken's a lie.
But then I was like, where would they even be getting the people? Like, all the missing people in America, like, go missing in national parks and they don't know what happened to them. It's KFC. It's the Colonel. Like, come on, give me a break. Like, that was a big leap. Like, it's a weird advert, but that is a big leap.
Yeah.
And then to think that they're going to be doing this atrocious thing, cooking people, deep frying them in 11 secret herbs and spices, feeding them to unsuspecting customers, they're going to tell us in an advert.
That's what we did say.
And it's actually in the fine print.
Plausible deniability.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I was
Yeah.
like, that, like, the advert was so weird. And before I'd seen the conspiracies, I saw the advert and I was like, what am I watching? Like, I didn't realise until it came up at the end, like, until she holds up the chicken.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was even a KFC advert, so I was like, what am I watching? But then I saw the conspiracy theories, and I was like, I love a conspiracy.
That's
And
hard to get behind.
yeah, like, I just don't feel like KFC would be that dumb to be like, let's just tell them.
Although you say that, and this will be an episode at some point in our time, but with the whole like possible Hollywood cult elite Illuminati shit, part of being in that is you have to openly say that you are in that, and you have to openly say what you're about. So, you know, there's been like clips of what was the name of the actress that was in Miss Congeniality? I'm really bad with names. Anyway, Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Was it Anne?
No, I don't think it was, but...
Well, she looks kind of like her if it is. But anyway, there's clips of her saying that she like drinks baby's blood and stuff like that in an interview, like in a just normal interview. There's clips of there's theories that you have to openly say that you're in it, and obviously people are going to be like, that's jokes, like that's not true. But that would be interesting if that's just another part of it, and part of it is that you have to humiliate yourself. So, you know, when you see like either crazy music videos or you know, people wearing something that's absolutely ridiculous to it. Yeah, like that is your rite of passage.
All pop stars in the early 2000s, when they would wear like a dress over jeans.
Well, more than
with
that.
With a low belt.
A bit more than that.
That's humiliating.
Or like, I don't know, Kanye's new, like, with the pillow situation, you know, something of that ilk.
No, I have seen that, like, obviously within the Illuminati and stuff, there's stuff on, like, the American dollar that you can, like, be like, there's stuff here.
Yeah.
And I always think, why would they leave us literally puzzle pieces?
It's part of it, is you have to be, like,
have you eaten KFC recently?
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. I don't believe people
honestly,
are KFC.
It looks like chicken.
My point is that you say, why would they like put something out there like that? Not that KFC is people, but something like cult vibes. Maybe that's why.
They have done another weird advert as well, but it's just not as weird, and I can't even really remember it, but it's people round a table and it's got the same cultish vibes, and I was like, the reaction you got from the last one,
stop doing it.
Why are you going down the same direction with this one? But maybe it's part
KFC
of, like,
as well. Like, I know they say, oh, well, all publicity is good publicity, but is it? Is it?
Do you really want people to think that you're deep frying people, considering there's been, like, rats found in batter?
Yeah, and let's say there is, which I'm
99% sure.
I'm 99% sure it's not. But we've already covered before that eating human meat has the potential to make people crazy.
Yeah, but it tastes like pork.
Well, that is the key issue with the story. It tastes too much like chicken.
Yeah, and I was like, do they bleach it? But yeah, where is this constant stream of human coming from?
Oh yeah, because we would be red meat, wouldn't we?
Yes! This is what I'm saying. It's just so ridiculous that, like, I thought, and I know sometimes TikTok has the weirdest conspiracy theories to get, like, rage bait or just to get views, but people so wholeheartedly, like, I didn't see a flicker in their eyes that they didn't believe what they were saying. They sat there so deadpan looking at the camera like, KFC's let us know what's really in chicken, guys.
KFP, Kentucky Fried People.
I was just like, why would they come out and tell us, like, this as well? Like, let alone telling us, but why? It's so weird. It's just so weird, but maybe this was part of their advertising technique, to be like, we'll do something so weird that's going to make people think that we're cooking human.
They're like, stay with me here. This is my vision.
It'll get us loads of customers. On that note, I'm going to leave here. I'm going to get some Benadryl and go get some KFC.
Maybe I might say that man later.
It's made me kind of fancy some chicken.
Wink. I actually blinked when I did that. I did not wink.
But yeah, I didn't get put off eating it because, like I said, I've had KFC after that. And I literally thought about it as I was eating it. And I was just like, there's no way this is human.
Some damn good humour. What cut is this?
That's a bit of human rump. So, yeah, that's the watchery section this week, just because I found that so...
That is ridiculous.
The
whole situation is ridiculous.
The advert alone is ridiculous, but I knew you hadn't seen it because I remember bringing it up like, oh, instead of a watchery, I'm going to do this thing about KFC. And you were like, I've not seen it. And I was like, brilliant.
Don't see it.
Let me tell you about it.
I thought you were going to say, there was another really weird advert I saw, and I can't remember what it was for now. Maybe it was for like a mobile network where like people, the person and the dogs, they seem to have swapped bodies.
No, I've not seen
it was strange. I don't know where they're going with these adverts now. I'm just so glad that I rarely see them because of streaming services.
But yeah, let us know if you think KFC is actually feeding us people. And KFC, if you're watching this, don't turn me into KFC or KFP.
I feel like get a fair amount of KFC.
Anyway, if you've stuck with us this long, thank you. And as always, give us a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And hopefully we'll see you again for the 22nd episode. See you later.
See you later.
Spooky and kooky, mystery and wonder. Feel the magic under. Spooky and kooky.